and welcome to Devils United. You're with me again this week, but we have Chloe to make the pill a little less bitter. How you doing, Chloe?
Hi, Andy. I'm good. Good to be back on. Gutted to have missed the watch along that you and Maisie did yesterday, but good match yesterday.
Yeah, I think Maisie said that I kept her calm a little bit, or the presence of me being there kept her calm, because she would have been a lot angrier than she was. But if anyone joined us yesterday, then I think you could argue that she was still pretty angry. And I think Chloe will be quite surprised that anyone would keep her calm, because I'm the one who normally is going mad when we're badly performing like we did yesterday. Though obviously we did get the win, thankfully, 3-1. Own goal and a goal from Villa Barisa. Not that Mark gives a damn, and Nikita Paris. So obviously we'll probably touch a little bit on that before we look forward to obviously the Old Trafford game again this season, which is great. To have a second game at Old Trafford this season. If anyone is interested in getting tickets, they are still available. They're because of, I think they haven't really marketed it brilliantly. So, if you haven't been at Old Trafford before, if you want to give the women's game a go, I think it's a tenner. I believe Maisie might still be trying to sell her ticket, and hers is a season ticket level, so it's a bit cheaper than that as well. So hit her up if you want her ticket, and definitely give it a go, because it is interesting watching the women's game at Old Trafford, and it's the same Old Trafford that you get for the men's. It's the same physical building. So if you've never got tickets, never been inside it, give it a go, and hopefully as a byproduct, you might actually enjoy the game as well. And we are playing West Ham, so it should go the way you want it to go. But yeah, Lewis, obviously yesterday, when we were doing the watch along, Chloe, me and Maisie were quite frustrated because we felt it was another example where we dropped our level to meet the team that we were playing. We were a bit sort of frustrated that he risked Tooney second half as well, even though she probably was needed, but it's still a risk, especially as Lisa got injured on debut and Thor got an injury as well. What were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I agree with you. In terms of the game, in some parts of the game, it was back to the old ways, back to the way we played against Sunderland. It was just very passing back and forth. It was misplaced passes, no creativity, no pass, just no forward passing into space, into areas. We had most of that possession. We had a lot of that possession, and we couldn't finish it. We just couldn't. And for me, I think that's what we needed. And then in the second half, I think bringing Tooney on was risky, because obviously she's a first team player, and it was risky to bring her on, and especially the state of that pitch. It wasn't too bad, but It wasn't the best either. But for me, I think she was needed. The link-up play that we got from her, the crossing into the box, the passing in between her and Rousseau and her and other players, it kind of created space. It created that build-up play that we missed. And it was a lot more fast passing, a lot more fast paced than it was in the first half. I do think we were ruined with having to do an early substitute with Lisa's injury. Because I do think that if we didn't have Lisa's injury in the first half, then maybe the substitutes would have been different. I don't think we would have needed Hayley Ladd on as early as we needed her, but obviously it's a like-for-like swap. I think it would have been, instead of Tooney coming on, it might have been Leon or Nikita Paris a bit earlier.
Yeah.
Obviously we didn't have Leah Golton or Hannah Blundell on the bench, but that's resting, not like they were at the game, but they were just rested and not playing. They were the two players that were dropped from it, because obviously there are two main wingers. And yeah, I think if we could have dropped a few more and not played them and put academy players on the bench, I think we would have. But I think for me, I think the way we did play was brilliant. But yeah, first half wasn't the best. Second half built up, and obviously with Ford getting an injury, it's annoying, because again, she's our fullback replacement until Jada Riviera comes back. And she played really well yesterday. She was really good up until that injury. For me, she was our player of the match until she got that injury. And yeah, the way that obviously, well, because I was watching it with commentary, she was in tears. Like, Ford was in tears. She was in a protective boot. So she's definitely done something to her ankle or foot. Lisa, she looks like she's done something to her hamstring. She was in tears, and with Lisa's injury, we can say it's Matt. We can say it's games, or it's the manager's fault. But the manager knew she was ready. He brought her onto the pitch. He played her because of the full time, because of making a debut, because he wanted her. So that would give Tooney the rest, or Hayley Ladd the rest. And then it's just that she's either not, she's just tweaked it and pulled it and stuff like that, or she was like, she already kind of had a tweak but didn't really think it was much. So it's one of them to see what happens, to see what we get told in the press conference in the run up to West Ham, see if we get told anything for injuries on Ford or Lisa, and hopefully that they're both not as serious as they looked. They just they just both looked really upset, and it wasn't nice to see that they were upset.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, I think there's going to be a cold day in hell when I defend Mark Skinner, but I think there was one particular stupid comment off someone on Twitter that alluded to the fact of, well, this is why you need a pre-season, and I kind of don't really want to give that person oxygen, to be honest. I think she was an utter idiot with that comment. I think it was just unlucky. I mean, initially I thought it was actually tactical, because we're not watching on comms. We just saw her sit down like you do when a lot of the sort of keepers sit down. Obviously, it's as it developed, and you could see that she was more upset that we saw it was something else. I don't think it was very unlucky. I mean, the very worst way you could look at it, and, I'm not a fan of Skinner, is maybe this player is a little bit like Martha Thomas before she came to us, in the sense of she's a bit glass built, she's a bit injury prone. I don't know. I don't know the history of it. But that's the most negative way of looking at it. Any other way of looking at it is just flat out wrong, to be honest. It was just unlucky. It was an unlucky occurrence. You could have, because at the end of the day, there's only so much intensity you can get on a training pitch. There's only so much intensity you can get on a bench. So it could have happened yesterday at Lewes, or it could have happened at Old Trafford, or it could have happened at Brighton. If it was going to happen, it was going to happen. I honestly believe that. I think, I think it is a hamstring issue rather than a knee issue, but I think, like we discussed with ACLs, there needs to be more research with women's athletes to give them the better, more bespoke care that's required to keep us watching the best players and being able to be entertained by the best players. I think the thing about Skinner that's interesting now is I don't really listen too much to his press conferences anymore, but I did listen to what he said afterwards, and he was kind of a bit like a petulant teenager. Oh, we wondered, it was a little bit like, why are you asking me? And I don't know if I like that or not, because I've also in the past said about managers talking about, it's about performance and this kind of shit, and he was admitting that the point was to win the game, and we won the game. But what I think I said to Maisie sort of halfway through the second half, we shouldn't be this uncomfortable watching it as United fans compared to, at the level team that we are playing Lewis. If we were Arsenal fans, I think you'd just be doing a random number generator trying to work out how many goals they're going to score. Same with Chelsea, possibly same with Man City, though obviously they're in the mud after being knocked out by Villa last night. But I mean, what's your view on that? I mean, we kind of made a bigger deal than it was, didn't we? Or do you think it's more that there was 2,801 people there? The majority of them, for once, were home fans, partly because of the distance, and they came out to support their team, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think it just shows how much the game is growing, how much the women's game is growing, and just touching on your point in the about research into the women's injuries, I think that's definitely needed. I do think there needs to be funds into that because we've had that many ACLs in big names that something needs to be sorted. Something needs to be looked into of why women are more prone to getting ACL injuries than men are. And luckily, like the recent one was, luckily she's not got it, but Lena Oberdorf from Wolfsburg, we all thought when she went down that she had an ACL, but luckily she hasn't. She just sprained her knee. But that's how serious injuries can get. And Lisa was holding the back of her leg, which is where the hamstring is. And again, that's a very prone injury to what the women get. And yeah, the men get it, but the men will just say it's cramp or something like that they've not tweaked the hamstring. But
yeah,
it seems more serious than it looks more serious than it is, but hopefully it's not. But yeah, touching back on what you asked is, yeah, it was good to see a lot more home fans there than us. But still about 400, I think, travelled down.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I just meant we can't. I'm glad that the whole team, and maybe that answers a little bit of Ravi's question that I'm sure you'll go on to now.
Yeah,
that they had but the whole town was there watching them, wasn't they? From their perspective.
Yeah, definitely. It seemed like the whole of their town was there. It was just great to see how Lewes have come from where they've come from when we first played them, to where they are now. They've equal pay with the men's team. The pitch is a lot better than it was. It's, for me, Lewes are an upcoming team. Yeah, they're semi-professional. They're not full-time yet. But it's only a matter of time that it will be. For me, Lewes played really well. They could have scored more than one goal. They could have put more pressure on us. But for me, we managed to keep them out. Mary made some great saves.
She let the goal in. She's not going to like. I don't. No. I think it's one of those. Really, I mean, it's easy to look at it. When we win the game, it was a beautiful goal. It was a great goal. But there was, we discussed. It's funny because again, I'm not a fan of Zelen, but excuse me, in the past I've criticized Zelen, and there is an element of the fan base where everyone has favourites, but I have found this season Millie's made a lot of silly little mistakes, at least one or two a game. And if you look at the goal, it was Millie's mistake, Mary's mistake, and then obviously it was that slide tackle on the keeper, which is actually very hard to do. Most keepers fall over and you get a free kick against you. They got it back to their German-Irish lady, as I got to tell Reece yesterday, who then smacked it top corner. It was one, you could say it was just a moment of switch off, but it wasn't brilliant to see.
Yeah, 100%. That goal was definitely a turning point because at that point it was still 2-1. Yeah. They had a lot more chances to make it 2-2 or even to go in front before Nikita scored our third. But for me, my favourite play from Lewes was Wilson. I think it was Ellie Wilson.
Right.
She was back and forth. She played in. She was back in her own half. She was in our half. Every time she had the ball, she was passing it. For me, she was definitely one of their best players.
There's one there from Reece. Kraft was crafty yesterday. Yeah, it's funny how you became more paternal towards her when you found out she was German, mate. But it was good to. I know. I think she's a bit like Ivana, where one side is one country and one side to the other. I think she represents Republic of Ireland.
She represents Republic of Ireland because I think they said it on the commentary. I think her mum's Irish and her dad's German. I think.
Yeah, so it's like the flip of Ivana, which is just as a side point. I noticed that the Brazil squad's been announced today for the England game, and she's not in it, unfortunately. I don't know anything about that. If she's injured, what's going on in Bayer Leverkusen, but she's not in it, so I know it'd be disappointing for some people that are going down. Mainly one particular person who's going to be quite disappointed. I don't know if she's going to go actually, but I mean, obviously, it was a great game yesterday in the sense of the result. If you're probably wondering, well, Andy, Chloe, White, well, who are we playing next? Well, your guess is as good as mine because clearly the Women's FA Cup thinks that we're all children and we need to have it just after 9 o'clock tomorrow morning when the rest of us are at work. The draw for the next round is going to be at 9:30 on BBC One tomorrow. Now that's when the program starts. So your guess is as good as mine when the draw is. You're probably more near lunchtime. You never know with the
morning
live.
Morning live starts at 9:15.
Oh, okay, and then 9:30 must be when it right. Okay, I mean to be fair, it's not going to take much to do it. It's 4 teams, so it's not going to.
10 minutes.
What? Sorry.
Probably 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, if anyone's not aware, it's obviously ourselves, United, Villa, Brighton. My spidey senses of going down there again twice in a month, and obviously Chelsea, which is something that we don't really want if we can avoid it. Just to finish on that, I loved it. Obviously, yeah, she was excellent. I don't think Lewis is bad either. Just quite like Vivalda, we thought took a while to kick on. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair to be honest. We've kind of touched on this a little bit as well. I think Skinner's got a philosophy where we actually drop down to the team that we're playing level, and that can be quite dangerous. It also works the other way, because I think you could definitely say that we went up the level when we played Chelsea the other weekend. And to be fair, I've started watching more of the European teams again, and Barcelona eventually show their skill. But in the first half of most of their teams, they do drop down to the level that they're playing at, roughly, and then they sort of slowly boil the frog, they slowly turn it up a little bit. But yeah, I think just to get some of my comps are going quite quick now. Yeah, thanks, Nippon. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you. Yeah, finals at Wembley. Give us Brighton for the men's and women's team as a semi-final opposition. Yeah, Chloe's putting thumbs up there. Yeah, unlike the men's, the semis aren't at Wembley, but the final is. So the semis will be at which whoever ground gets it. We sort of had a discussion offline about this. I personally think almost like a video game, you've got to play the big boss last. So you want to play Chelsea at Wembley if you're going to play them at all, if they don't get knocked out previously, obviously. So I would hope to play, obviously, the easiest game would be Brighton. Villa would be a possible banana skin because of Nobbs, because of Daly, and because of Carla Ward. But hopefully it'll be that way around and we'll be able to have a chance to lift the trophy in May. Yeah,
I agree with that. I would love to play Brighton
at home rather than away.
Let's hope for a home draw for United.
Well, it is a day you're free, so whichever way you're probably going to be there, so it's fine.
Home day for United, but if it's an away day, then I'm happy with that. And obviously, I'm with the men's game. I would hope for a Manchester derby in the final. So yeah, like Reece did say, a Brighton in men and women would be brilliant. One at home and one at Wembley. And then if it's Chelsea, then the only best way is to beat them at Wembley in the final. Like Andy touched on, Villa is very strong right now. Nobbs, Daly,
standing
fourth. Hansen, but Hansen can't play against us. Hannah Hampton, she's coming back. She is coming back. She's looking better than she's ever done in my eyes. She's definitely creeping back up into that third spot for me in the England squad, above Sandy McKeever. But yeah, it's going to be hard whoever we get tomorrow. In terms of whoever we get, it's going to be hard. Everyone's going to be up for it. It's our first semi-final. It's Brighton's first as well. I think Aston Villa are in the Conti Cup semi-final, and obviously it's Chelsea's millionth time in the semi-final.
Well, one of the things I think they pointed out, I think Tom Gary was reporting earlier that at least they're guaranteed to have one brand new finalist at Wembley, which is kind of what the game needed, because it's been kind of like round robin between Arsenal, Man City, and Chelsea in relation to the cups in the last few years. So it'd be good to have a fresh name on the trophy.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely.
Hopefully our name.
Yeah, hopefully our name. Hopefully we'll be at Wembley on the 14th of May. So yeah, it's going to be good. And yeah, fingers crossed that if we get Brighton or Villa, we win it, and then we face, hopefully, Villa or Brighton, who face Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I mean, I don't think we're going to be able to avoid Chelsea. I mean, theoretically you can, but I think it's going to be very unlikely that we're going to avoid Chelsea.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, if you have to beat them, beat them at Wembley, I suppose. But
if we end up getting them in the semi-final, then if we beat them at home or beat them at King's Meadow, then that's even better. But yeah, to beat them at Wembley will be the icing on the cake for me.
So obviously moving on a little bit to West Ham game. Obviously at Old Trafford on Saturday, it was originally going to be Sunday. It got moved. It got moved to kickoff times as well. It's been here, there, and everywhere this particular game. But at least with the kickoff time, Chloe's excited because it means you can actually come to it, which is great. And obviously, we're pleased to have her there as well. And missed on a few games this year. Might be interesting to start, obviously, because it is at Old Trafford. I'd assume, obviously, a lot of Reds have been before, but some I know watch us and watch Maisie, from different areas of the country. I mean, what's the difference watching at Old Trafford compared to being at LSV?
I think the difference is being at LSV, we're a lot more closer together in terms of all the area. Whereas at Old Trafford, we seem like we're far apart, because you've got Stretford End, you've got Sir Alex Ferguson stand, the Bobby Charlton stand, and the other one, and it just seems like being at Old Trafford, it's brilliant for the women's game. It's fantastic. It's what they deserve. But it doesn't seem to have that big of an atmosphere. Like, we'll sing, we'll chant, but it doesn't get passed around. You can't hear it. Whereas at LSV, it does, especially on where we're sat or stood, where we are at LSV. It does. You can hear the other side chant with us. And sometimes you can hear the south and the other side. But if you've not got a ticket, please get one for this game on Saturday. It's an R5 kickoff. We're against West Ham. The girls deserve to have a stadium full. There is still tickets available. So just get your tickets, come down. It's going to be an amazing time, especially if you've not watched the women's game. To have the experience to watch them at Old Trafford, it's worth it. And if you've never been to Old Trafford again, just come down and enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the points that you made are valid. It isn't as almost good of an atmosphere for us to go regularly, but I think for me it's just more about, it reminds everybody that it is one club. It brings a heritage in for the women's team. These are the women who, as children, who as girls, would have either gone to the games or dreamt about playing at Old Trafford before it was even possible. Yep. And I think it brings everybody back to that. And, and obviously, people like Villa Barisa have been there before, but only on the bench. Hopefully she'll make it a start. But I don't know, it depends on Skinner, doubt it. And it's about, I think to be honest, United have bottled it because they've done, West Ham. I mean, one of the questions we've got, I think from Ravi, thoughts on West Ham, are they any good and do they have any threats to watch out for? Well, the answer is there's probably a few threats, but no, they're not very good. And that's kind of what the problem is. Like, it's a risk, but at the end of the day, we beat Arsenal at the Etihad. Sure, that was really embarrassing for Arsenal, like men's side or the club as a whole. But we're going to have to put that risk because we're going to have a game against Chelsea at Old Trafford, against City, or against, Arsenal at Old Trafford. Because then when we win, it's sweeter. Then that's how you make the memories. If you don't put the big games against us at Old Trafford, you kind of not really backing your team as much. And, I have great memories with Chloe, deafening her, actually, literally, as well as metaphorically, celebrating, the sort of the win, and yeah, we will get that on Sunday, but it's kind of a game we should win. And it's more going to be a conversation where it'll be like, oh, well, that was only 1-0, 2-0, rather than oh my God, are we going to win this? And we need a game at Old Trafford where we have a chance to lose. It's as bizarre as it sounds.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I've seen it on Twitter where people going put our game against Arsenal at Old Trafford because it's already sold out, and there's that many people that want to come and watch Arsenal. Then it wonders why we can't, because that's when it's FA Cup semi-final in the men's game. So they're at Wembley. So it just shows how important, if we can get Arsenal at Old Trafford on that weekend, then I think we're going to get a lot more fans at Old Trafford than it will be at this weekend, because Arsenal are a top team. Arsenal are a team you want to beat. We've beat them at Emirates. Why not beat them at Old Trafford? And I think we deserve to have that game at Old Trafford, and hopefully it gets changed, but it probably won't do. And it's just such a shame, because me and Andy both know, like, our girls put in so much training and so much potential and stuff to get the big games only played at LSV. Like, we could have had City at LSV, we could have had Chelsea, we've got Arsenal still to come, we've got City still to come, and Arsenal falls on, like I said, Arsenal falls on the day when it's a semi-final at Wembley. So we play on the Sunday at Wembley because we're in the Europa League on the Thursday, which means that we could play at Old Trafford on the Saturday. So then it doesn't conflict with people who want to travel down to watch the United men at Wembley. So I think it just all depends on when the men's stadium's free to who we've got then and that day or that week, who we've got. And it just happens to fall on games that shouldn't be, that are important, because we need to win all these. We can't drop any of these points to be guaranteed with Champions League. But it just seems like it's not as big of an occasion with it being West Ham. Whereas if it was City or Arsenal, it would have been. The tickets would have been sold like that.
Yeah.
There wouldn't still be tickets being on sale right now.
I mean, obviously, Reese has been a bit of discussion in the comments we've been discussing, and obviously talks about having another stadium. It's funny, because I actually think now that this might be interesting your view on this before we go more into the game, but I actually think that horse has bolted, in the sense of the baby Etihad, the baby Academy Stadium, only holds 9,000 people, if not less. And all right, we haven't done it that often, but we are pretty much nearly filling Lee, which has got 12,000. So I actually think that at the minute we're actually going to have to try and sell more at Lee, and then eventually build up to using Old Trafford. Now, I appreciate 77,000 to 12 is a big jump, but do I think it's realistic that we're going to put a 20,000, 30,000 seater stadium next door to Old Trafford, which is what you would need it to be as the next step? Probably not, unless it was like a multi-use event arena that can be used indoors or outdoors, like that they're doing near the Etihad, the Co-op arena. Unless it's like a version of that can be done outdoors or indoors, because otherwise, how does it really help, apart from being closer, and maybe it'll happen a bit more often? But how does an 8,000 seater academy / women's stadium next door at Old Trafford help? Do you know what I mean? Because we'll fill it quite quickly. We're in the same problem. We're in the same position.
Yeah, I've seen something about this. So the owners, whoever take over from the Glazers, I don't know if it's Sir Jim Ratcliffe or the Qatar owners, but one of the owners want to build a brand new stadium next to Old Trafford, but keep Old Trafford for the women's and the under-23s game, but build a bigger one for the men's right next to it. But if that happens, it's not going to be very quick. It's going to take at least a few more, like at least 2-3 years to build, especially if they're building up the capacity. But yeah, like touching on what Andy was saying about the smaller Etihad, it doesn't hold. It only holds 8,000, and for a team as big as City women are, they deserve a lot more. They deserve it to be held a lot more. They shouldn't have to be playing in an 8,000 capacity stadium. And I don't think when they built that they thought it would be as popular as it is. And I think at first they only built it for the academy players in the men's, but now obviously with the women, they're playing there, they're training there. We're training at Carrington, which is good. But yeah, I think for me, City need to start upping it to get more than 8,000, and if we can sell out the whole of LSV and open up the south stand a lot more where the standing section is, and open that up permanently, and then opening and fully selling it out, then we might get that chance to play at Old Trafford a lot more than 2 games. But this is a stepping stone. So first, let's sell out LSV, then let's upgrade and get a better place.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, just to sort of channel my inner Maisie, Reese, I'm not ragging on you, mate. I promise. I agree. I'm just saying that I'm just thinking about the way it's growing, and hopefully it'll continue to grow. I mean, there's a couple of negatives that are existing in the fan base. The fan base is split at the minute. We're split over Skinner. We're split over, I think, to an extent, the direction that it's going. With the team, we all want to win, but we saw our first Skinner out signs at lose, physical signs that were there. So it's going to be an interesting one to see how that develops, because it is strange, and I get it to an extent, and possibly this is why the BA have gone the wrong way, in the sense that they've tried to shut down any criticism, because you've got to push the women's game so much. You've got to be an evangelist and say this is a brilliant sport. I love it. Come watch it. But you can't say it's perfect, because nothing's perfect. You've got to be honest with people. And I think I'd say come watch it, because you'll get great football. You'll get the interaction, and you'll make some lifelong friends if you're lucky, like I have. Then, and then you'll fight for it, But I mean, I think just punching a bit more on the game for West Ham, just to let everyone know where they are. So obviously at the minute, top 3, Chelsea's top, played 14 with 37 points, and they've won 4 and drawn 1 in the last 5. United played 15 and are 35 points, lost 1, won 3 and drawn 1 in the last 5. City have played the same amount of games that we have, 15 points, and are on 35 points. And Arsenal have played 1 game less at 14. They're on 32, and have lost 1, drawn 2, and won 2. So I think the quite surprising thing is how close we are to dropping out of the top 4. And 2 seconds ago, we were top of the league. But that is what we've been trying to say about how many points we've got to pick up. Now, in relation to so you might say, well, where's West Ham? West Ham are currently 7th, so they're sort of just below the halfway point. 15 games played, and they've lost 4 and drawn 1 in the last 5. They're only 2 points ahead of Liverpool, and actually, if you want to go all the way, they're not a million miles away from the bottom, really. They're about 8 or 9 points away from the bottom, so it is quite tight down there. But, West Ham, in the past, we've struggled with it.
Yeah, we have. It's one of them that it's a team that we can call that kind of our bogey team, as I would say. Depending on the day and how we play, we can beat them, and I've always thought that. But it also depends on how West Ham set up and who plays in West Ham, who's in the starting 11, because that's the decisive bit. They have some key players. I know we'll probably touch on the key players in a minute for West Ham, but yeah, they have some key players. If all of them are fit enough to start, then they will do. And if I remember rightly, West Ham was our first game at Old Trafford
without crowds.
It was behind closed doors when it was COVID. So we have already played West Ham. That's another thing at Old Trafford, but it was behind closed doors without fans in COVID. So that's another point. Why are you playing another team or the same team at Old Trafford and not playing one of the top three?
Well, the low-hanging fruit would have been earlier in the season, Liverpool, because it would have got the men's fans through the door, not knowing the difference in the women's game with Liverpool women and Liverpool men, and that rivalry, and you would still have the high likelihood of us winning. But again, we didn't do the chance of doing that. I mean, obviously we've let Lisa out now, and obviously Aoife has made a good point here, saying, "I like Lisa, strong, quick, and technical. Looks like a good signing." Probably. I mean, for us, unfortunately, because she was only there for 20 minutes, I wasn't quick enough really to assess her properly. I think we did rate her at the end of the watch along, but Maisie was saying it's a bit snide because she was only there for so long. But that is positives for the future. I mean, obviously, we've discussed lineups before. He seems to only really amend the wingers. But with that interesting position now about the attacking forward as well, who do you think might start for us against West Ham?
So wingers, I think it'll be Leah and maybe Nikita Paris.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with, and then I think it'll just be the same. I think it will just be Leah will be back in the squad, and Nikita will be changed. Tooney will be back, back in the starting lineup. Whether they change the back lineup, I don't think he will. But I think it also depends on if Hannah does, like, if she's ill or anything, because again we don't know why Hannah didn't play, because she could have not been well, or had a sickness bug, and that's why she didn't play. So we'll just have to see if she's in any of the training picks in the upcoming days, and then we just go from there. But I think everything will be the same. Just Nikita in for Lucia and Leah back in the squad.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, the big question is, why did Lucia get subbed off at the end of the first half against Lewis? It was weird decision to take her off.
I think more so he subbed Lucia off because who was on the other wing? Who was playing on the wing?
Well, Paris came on. Who was it playing? Thomas, was it?
Thomas. So I can't, unless he took the Lucia off, unless she got an injury, a slight niggle.
Yeah.
That's the only way I could think of it. Or unless it was that he took her off because 45 minutes, bring on Toon because she's more attacking, more threat, but Lucia starts at Old Trafford. It's one of them. We don't know what goes through Skinner's heads.
Thank God.
But I think we always know if Leah's fit, and if Galton's fit enough, she will start. Yeah. I think giving her a rest yesterday, I think that's what we need for our wingers. But for me, I think instead of having either Nikita Paris or Martha Thomas on, we could have started Leon. We should have started Leon. But we didn't, and again, it's annoying us as a fan base that Leon isn't getting played.
She's had a go. I have no clue, but she's had a go at him. There's no other way of putting it. She has either squared up to him or said something, or dared say that he was biased towards Zellum, or something on those lines, because there is no way in God's green earth that you could just go from, being an Olympic gold medalist to struggling to get into the squad.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, Leon needs to play against West Ham because she's an ex-West Ham player. She knows that like the back of her hand, and she needs to play. She needs to realise that we've got some intel in this squad. We have Leon who can help us with this. And for me, I think if she at least comes off the bench for the game at Old Trafford, then I would be happy. I think a lot of the fan base would be for her to come off the bench alongside Boarisa. I think them two players need to come off. Maybe Man Utd as well off the bench. And it's just them three I think might come off the bench. It just all depends on who he starts on the wings, and if anyone picks up injuries in training.
Yeah, and obviously touching on Boarisa, I'm just gonna, anyone who watches alternative MUFC, when he talks about having heartburn when the men play badly, I'm gonna give myself heartburn by just bringing up a tweet. Well, I'll read it anyway. It refers to what Skinner said after Boarisa's performance yesterday, which it just blew my mind, to be honest, that you would say this. You would say this, out loud. It's so weird. It really is so weird. So Skinner on Villa Boarisa's performance and goal. I'm not going to do the accent. See the aggression she puts into that header. I want to see that aggression in every part of her play all the time. She has really wonderful flashes. Vilda is a great footballer. I know the fans love Vilda. We love Vilda. No, it's now gone to we and not I. Interestingly, she's a really great player, but this league needs a certain type of player, and we're just asking her to keep bringing that out, because I think once we've provoked it, it's there. There were really some great parts of her game today.
Yeah. What can you say? We all know what Vilda's like. We love Vilda. We don't care how she plays. She's just player.
It's just like I'm sorry, right? I don't, I just don't understand that. Anyone who's played FIFA or more pertinently, like Football Manager, it asks you sort of opinions on people's performance, and depending on what you click on, they either go, "Oh, thanks, boss," and you get a plus sort of performance, or they get upset and you have to deal with an upset player. I think Skinner missed that part of the game personally, because I've never seen a manager just do it like that for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah,
all he had to say was, if he didn't want to blow smoke because of the way he is, Vilda showed her class again. We have great players. We're really pleased to have her in the squad. Always like working with her. She likes working with us. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. None of this like flashes and whatever the hell he was going on about. To be honest, it is rather strange. To be honest, it's one of them.
Yeah, it definitely is. But yeah, I think for me, we like I said, we all know how Vilda Boarisa plays. We love how she plays, and she's part of that. Like, she's what we need in the team, especially against West Ham and teams like that. And yeah, maybe not start against Chelsea, Arsenal, City, the likes of them, but bring her on. You've used the 5 substitutions that we've got, because you wouldn't be able to use that. You wouldn't be able to use your 4th or your 5th if we were back to the 3rd substitution.
Yeah.
We're back to 3 subs. So it's how he plays these subs. It's who's fans' favourite: Boarisa, Leon, Casarino, Man Utd. And yeah, Rachel Williams can come on in the 85th minute for 5 minutes, because she's that player that she doesn't care how long she gets played for. She's just happy to get on the pitch. And I think another thing is, if we play any of our players that we know should play, then I think we'll win a lot. But we'll just have to see on Saturday who he decides he wants to pick.
Ravi's question there. I'm sure he might have started a bit early on a Monday night there, to be honest. But do you both trust Skinner to deliver glory days in all competitions? No, it's a short answer. I mean, obviously, there's been discussions in the chat there a little bit about, I don't think it's a Skinner v Casey Stoney scenario. I think both going Casey had her faults, and I would have probably already moved on at this point. I don't think she would have possibly got the team to where we are. Skinner has a myriad of faults as well. So there isn't really, it's not either or. I'm not saying bringing back Casey Stoney, though she's doing very well in the NWSL that starts again this weekend. It probably would be, kicking on and having another strong manager. And as I said, I have a soft spot for Carla Ward. I know a lot of people do. But even if you take Carla out of it, a manager that's got Champions League experience wouldn't be a bad idea. But I think with the ownership being in flux at the minute, and obviously just trying to focus on who's going to buy the club, I don't think they're going to make any changes. I think they'll probably extend his option for a year. Hope to God they don't give him a new contract, but at least he extend his option for a year and then look at it again next season. I think when everybody's in place, I think that's probably what will happen.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think for Mark, I think we'll give him his option, especially for him to get us to that set, to get us to the semi-final of the FA Cup. If he can get us in the top 3 of the Champions League, then he's going to be giving it. I think, touching on just Ravi's question again, I think you can say deliver in all comps, but how we're not delivering if we don't win a cup. We're not delivering if we don't win a trophy. So until we've won that trophy, then we can't really say that he's delivering. And like Andy touched on, Carla Ward for me would be the next manager at United. I think that would be a lot of people's perspectives. But if we wanted someone who's got Champions League experience for us to get into Champions League, then we're going to have to look at Europeans. We're going to have to look at people abroad, teams in Spain, Italy,
Germany.
And for me, it just depends on, like Andy again touched on, we're focusing now, United are definitely focusing on the owners and getting rid of the Glazers, and then it's going to be down to contracts and other stuff like that. And there's probably, with Polly, there's probably stuff going on behind closed doors that we're not going to be told about just yet, and stuff like that. But we as fans, we want to know stuff. We want to know what's going on. We want to know what's going on with contracts, because this is getting to the crucial stage now. It's March. We've got 2 months until the end of the season. Players leave in June, July. If they're leaving on a free transfer, we need to be given time to say goodbye to them if they're going. Yeah. And that's for us, that's what we want to know. And if we don't get given that and they leave without saying, like us saying goodbye to them, then we're going to feel not upset, but we're going to feel frustrated and annoyed at the board for not telling us. We know who's up, whose contracts are up in June, at the end of this season. But all we know about is that Russo's had talks, Honor's had talks, and Mary's had talks. We don't know about Hansen. We don't know about Emily Ramsey. Yeah, they're both unknown, so that's probably why they've not had the chat yet, and they're probably going to do it after the loan's ended. But it's one of them that it seems like we're kind of, Honor's big name, Mary's a big name, Russo's a bigger name, and they're the 3 that are getting shown, that are getting kind of not just pushed out to us. Like, they're the 3 we want to keep, but we would like to keep Hayley Ladd, whose contract's up at the end of this season, and other players like that. And I just think these contracts need to be sorted quickly. Yeah,
completely. Just before I go for score prediction and wrap it up as well, I mean, I think, to be honest, United fans, obviously I'm more of a women's fan, but obviously I know the history about the men's side. They talk about our managers who come and win it all because they see it more linked with a manager Whereas I think with most teams, it's about a dynasty in the sense of everybody's put a brick in the wall, and eventually somebody gets to stand on the top of it. And you know, and I think maybe Skinner will be a stepping stone. You know, will there be things to thank him for? I can't see it just yet, but there will be. They'll think like we have things to thank Casey for, and eventually there will be a manager who will be, you know, hopefully our Bombastador for Leon, hopefully our Jonathan Cortez for Barcelona, you know, who will be able to benefit. I mean, Emma Hayes was not the first Chelsea manager that they ever had. I know she brought them on from being a mediocre team, but she wasn't the first one. Most managers, you know, have something to work on, really. But can Man United women win the league this season? No. But that was never the point. We got a bit distracted when it was looking very good. The point was third place this season, and that's very much still in our own hands. And just before we get on, as I say, get on the score prediction, there's one here for a while ago. The perfect climax to the FA Cup final. United win and Skinner gets sacked and take Zelen with her. Yeah, I must admit, and then we wake up. That's the problem. But no, I mean, I think, obviously, unfortunately or fortunately, if we win the FA Cup, Skinner probably gets a bonus. Because it'll be in his contract somewhere if he wins a piece of pay, and he maybe won't get his contract, but we'll just have to see. But yeah, I mean, obviously we've sort of skirted around the game. Maybe talk about some bigger points tonight, but with the Old Trafford game at Old Trafford against what should be a relatively easy team, what do you think the score is going to be?
I think clean sheet for Mary, 3-0.
I think that's important actually, because I know she would have got quite annoyed about that goal yesterday. And obviously because we played Chelsea, it's been a couple of games now before she's kept a clean sheet. So that's fine. She's England's number one, but the way she's talked in interviews, how she gets hurt by these goals she lets in, I think that's going to be something she's really motivated for. So what was that again? 3-0?
United women.
I think that's a really good shout. I mean, I'd probably maybe go for the same, but let's go 2-0 because I've always got to want more a little bit, but no, just to be different. But 3-0 or 2-0, I think is quite a good choice. But yeah, thanks everyone for coming in. Obviously, Maisie's away this week. I don't know what the situation will be next week, but obviously me and Chloe enjoy doing these as well. So we'll tell you guys plenty ahead of time when there is something. Hopefully we'll be talking about, if we are here, a great Old Trafford experience. And then probably moaning about how early I'm going to have to get up for the Brighton game. Is probably what will happen there. A large reason why I'm going is the very pretty girl on the right hand side of the screen. But there you go, on the bus anyway. But thanks for everyone's time tonight. Appreciate the engagement. It's become part of my Monday nights, and now it's become part of Chloe's as well. If you want to shout out your socials, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Andy. Maisie, we miss you. We hope to have you back next week. If you are wanting any women's, I will just quickly touch on this. If you are wanting any women's football this week, it's the Women's Champions League quarterfinals this in midweek. They are being shown on Datsy and on YouTube for free.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay.
Or log in or anything like that. It's like the FA player, even when you have to put an account, you just click on it. It's YouTube.
It's just on YouTube. Obviously, Arsenal in it and Chelsea are in it, so it's going to be good. Barca against Roma. So yeah, it's going to be definitely good. So if you're wanting to watch any women's European games, have a look at the Champions League women's on YouTube, and you can watch it there. My socials is Chloe Riley 14, and I look forward to having it on next week again, especially for the Brighton one. But like Andy said, it's going to be an early start for us having a trip down.
5 a.m. start from Old Trafford. Not already that I'm thinking about it, and earlier for me because I'll be picking Chloe up and then getting there. But anyway, that's the future me to deal with a week on Sunday. But thanks for everyone else's time tonight. Really appreciate it. What? Sorry.
A week Saturday.
Oh, yeah, week Saturday even. That'll do. Right, that definitely shows it should end. Right, see you guys later, all right?
See you later.
That's the end of that. Good night.
Bye.